Hi, this is Charlie. I'm with my messy fingers. I had a new collection sent to me by Scrap and Create. They're an online craft store and they have sent to me, let me grab it here real quick, as long as I don't drop everything else on the floor. They sent to me the collection from Graphic 45, Spring is in the Air. Beautiful, sweet collection, great colors, just the patterns. Oh, and I just love the bunnies. They're just adorable. So we're going to be playing with that. We're going to be making ourselves an album. Now, if you want to make your own style of an album, that's perfectly fine. But I want you to know that I work with 5/8 of an inch in a gusset between the pages. So make whatever album you're comfortable with as long as you accommodate that, because I do some build-ups that can be as much as 1/4 of an inch. So when that page goes to lay over, you need that room between the pages to allow, or they're going to smack together, or they're going to lay at an angle like this. So 5/8 of a gusset. This is my method of putting an album together. I use Tyvek. It is a very resilient product. It's actually a shipping envelope, and I cut it to use it to bind my pieces together. What will happen is as the flex takes place with the chipboard, it will flex against the Tyvek, saving the cardstock that's on the underside. The cardstock will run on this slick surface rather than it running up against this. It'll save you some wear and tear on that cardstock. So I've cut 2 strips. I think they might be a bit long. They're right there. So these are 9 inches in length, and they are 2 inches in width. I've scored at 7/8 and I've scored at 1 1/8 on both of them. I want a 12-inch gusset in between here, and then I've lined each of the edges here with some tape. So I'm going to go ahead and start the process of putting them on. I do use some acrylic spacers. I found these and I love them. They help to keep my album and my spacing right where I need it to be. I don't have to do any more guessing. So I'm using the larger spacer. I do have it taped down, and then I'm taking my 1/4 inch spacer and I'm butting it up next to it. And then these will go on the underside. So this will match up with this gusset that I've got going here. So let's go ahead and let's get started. You're going to have a panel, 2 panels that are going to be 9 by 9. And then your spine panel is going to be, I think I already have it marked here. Your spine panel is going to be 1 7/8 by 9. These big chipboard pieces are going to be 9 by 9. Sakes. So I'm going to take this first off, and I'm just going to follow my score line up the edge. And then I'm going to take off this piece of tape. All right, so now I want to put my first panel on. So I am going to lay this right here. I'm going to hold it still. I'm going to butt it up next to that other acrylic spacer. I do sell these on my Etsy store if you're interested. Beautiful. Okay, that's the first set, so let's go ahead and let's get the second piece on. Come on for there. Now I am going to place this in here because this is where it starts to become super critical that everything matches up. Okay, I'm going to set that back in there. And then I'm going to butt this up to next to the top of the acrylic and then the bottom. All done. Okay. All right, so this is what we have so far. So we've got some nice spacing, and then I've got a 1 7/8 spine, and each of these panels are 9 by 9. Now I am using a beautiful blue cardstock that I got at CARDSTOCKwarehouse.com, and it's in their color plan division, and it's called New Blue. Now, it does come in 65-pound weight as well as 100-pound weight. I am wrapping this with 65-pound weight, but all my internal pages will all be done with 100-pound weight. So if you go to their website, order the 25-pack of the 100-pound weight and only just pick up 2 sheets of the 65-pound weight, unless you want to stock up. All right, so we're going to have 2 panels. One of your panels is going to measure 11 by 11 1/4, and the other panel is going to measure 11 by 11 3/8. I am using a 3/8 tape to attach these two. I don't want it to be any less in width because this is going to be a focal point for strength. All right, now this is going to rest on the top. So those measurements should give you an inch all the way around. Now let's just double check that. So I'm an inch there. And I can push this just a bit, whoops, because I had a little bit more than an inch down here. Oh, there we go. All right, and then an inch. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to run a 1/2 inch bead of tape all the way around the edge. We're going to run 3/8 of an inch around just the external edges, not here. That'll be addressed later. But to get this to stick to this, we're going to turn this over and we're going to run tape all across the back of this. So I'm going to start with my 1/2 inch tape. I'm going to fold this so that I can identify where my chipboard edge is. And then I'm going to do the same here with this. It's kind of wiggly, but I'll get it there. So 1/2 inch tape along the edges of the chipboard, and then I'm going to use some 1/4 inch tape on the end. We're going to go in the middle, and then we're going to go in the middle again. So we're going to go on the end. Roughly in the middle, just eyeball it. Then we want to go in between those two strips again. All right, let's give this all a really good burnish. With those acrylic tools comes this spatula, and I've been using it to burnish. It allows me to cover quite a bit, so I'm not having to do each individual strip of tape. Plus, I've discovered it's easy on my arthritic hands because, again, I'm not pushing down on a thin piece. So if you buy those acrylic spacers, you're going to get this guy as well. All right, so this is ready to go. So I'm going to turn it over. Now, it is really important that this seam that you've made right here is as close to the middle as you can on your spine. There's going to be a lot of pressure put on this as this thing opens and closes, so it should really be in the center as best as possible. You do not want that seam sitting here because now it's so close to these edges, you're going to really be putting a lot of stress on this. And it should not be here either. You shouldn't have it here, and I find it kind of unsightly to be on the front of an album. So I've measured this so that this is roughly 1 inch on each end, and that this sits in the middle as best as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be within the scope of the spine. Now I've got my paper set. I'm going to put some pressure on my left hand. I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to peel off this tape. I don't want this to move because I've already got the visual on it. Now I'm going to take and pull on this nice and gently, and I'm going to lay it down. All right, now we're going to start stripping tape. Now when I go to lay this down, I'm going to give a gentle tug, pull this straight out, and lay it down. The reason being, Tyvek is so flexible, you don't want to accidentally have it do this, and you don't want it to buckle up like this. So you're going to give gentle tugs, and you're going to lay it down. So here we go again on this side. Gentle tug, lay it down, and we're going to burnish. Okay, now I'm going to grab my 3/8 of an inch tape, and I'm going to start to line the edges here. When we go to fold over the cardstock, it'll have double contact. Okay, now I want my 1/2 inch tape. I should should open up a new one. Don't think I've got enough to go all the way around here. Nope, it just ran out. Okay, excuse me, excuse the reach. All right, that's not what I want. Hold on there. One more piece. All right. All right, time to burn it or miter the corners. One last one. Okay, so now we're going to start pulling strips of tape. I'm going to remove this in its entirety, but these two pieces I'm just going to pull them back about an inch. We're going to be folding over this, and I don't want this tape stuck up underneath of it. Okay, let's give her a nice little fold. Press down those corners and roll them in. Okay. I'm going to turn this and I'm going to repeat on this end. All right, let's pull the tape off of the edges so we can start to fold it over. Nice clean corners. Okay, let's go turn it over. And we're going to do the same. Whoops. Okay. Now, what I want to do, and I'm going to use a different tool because it's the perfect width, is I'm going to lift these up and I'm going to push this cardstock down into that gusset. There's tape here so it will adhere to the Tyvek. I don't want the excess sitting up here floating across the surface. Now when you do this, gentle pressure, firm and gentle, because if you tear it, you're going to have to take it apart or glue the tear. Okay, so there we go. Nice crisp corners. So next, you're going to cut a piece that's going to be 6 inches across by 8 3/4 in your height. It's going to come and sit in here like so, about 1/8 of an inch off the top and off the bottom. And this is where our pages will sit. So we need this to be sturdy. That's why I'm using 100-pound cardstock. So now I am going to tape the perimeter of this . And now I'm going to put tape on the inside here, not up here because that's going to be taken care of with this. So we're going to run it right up along the edge of the chipboard. And then I'm going to take 3/8 and I'm going to run it here and here because you've got roughly a 2-inch lip or fairly close to it. So we want to make sure that it's well supported. So when you put this down here, let's get the numbers up right. So when you put this down here, you're going to make sure you're roughly as even as you can be, because here's your little divots for the spine gussets. So you're going to even this up in between them, and then that tape is going to go down. All right. I'm going to take off the 2 center ones. And then once again, I'm going to come in here about 1/8 of an inch up off the bottom. Spread it. Okay, I gotta take that off. That just took a nosedive, an angled nosedive. I hate doing this. Put This is a classic reason why you don't pull all the tape off. All right, let's try that again. I think I'm going to turn it this way. And make sure that I am fairly even top to bottom. Then I'm going to take off these internal strips. Now I'm just going to lay these down. I'm not going to do any firm burnishing because we're going to push this, I want this tool, this excess again down in that gusset, and I want this to float. And then the same over here. Now I'll take the rest of the tape off. We'll gently start laying it down so the tape can make contact. Come on. Goodness sakes, there we go. Okay, just a gentle burnish because I really want to burnish this down in this gusset with the emphasis on identifying that edge of the chipboard for this spine. That's going to be important here in a little bit, and then we're going to do the same here. Okay, now I can really burnish. And then you've got these nice tight corners once again. I could burnish that down. It's not. Okay, now our pages. You're going to cut two that are going to be 8 3/4 in the height. Gosh, I need to change my blade. 8 3/4 in your height. You're going to come in here and you're going to score at 5/8. And then we're going to put a 1/2 inch strip of tape. All right, now I am going to take one and I'm going to kind of pretend like I'm installed it, and I'm just going to lay it up next to the center of the spine, and I'm going to kind of stand it up so I can get this paper in place. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to come in about 1/4 inch. Now let's see, what does that measure in at? That's at 9.5 inches. So these are going to be 8 3/4 by 9.5 inches with a 5/8 score. Now when I go to add this onto my spine, I got some pencil marks I should probably erase here real quick. Okay. I want this edge to just be slightly off this edge that we've identified here on the chipboard, the edge of the spine for the chipboard. Just slightly off. Oh, I didn't cut that. God, I'm such a ding-ding. Hold on. I'm looking at that going, why is that page so long? Okay. Lining up my ends by 1/16 off the edge. I'm going to lay this down, make sure it's laying fairly straight, and it's not. So bear with me. I just want to pull this down here a little bit so that these are all level. There we go. So this is going to be cut at 9.5 inches. Now we're going to set this one in. Coming right up underneath this seam. Just going to lay it in there. I'm just going to lay it down ever so gently so that I can straighten it out just a little bit. Okay, those aren't tucking off. I can fix it. All right, I am struggling here. I hope you're not. I have done this so many times, you know, making albums and laying these pages in here, that is just mind-boggling that all of a sudden I can run into a placement issue. Well, there's going to be a little bit of a gap. Why is that not laying straight? Goodness sakes. Okay, so when you finally get this in there, that 1 7/8 spine piece you cut, you end up with 5/8 here, 5/8 here, and 5/8 here. So then when you're building up on your pages, which can be as much as a 1/4 inch either way, they still have room to come together because we're allowing for that here in this 5/8 inch of a gusset. I do not cover these panels. It's a waste because we're actually going to be placing a signature over this. So I'm going to mark this as my front, and then I'm going to mark this as my back so that I'll know which direction I'm playing with on these. But there we go. So we'll move on to adding the collection paper on the next video. Until then.